Florida has implemented a new regulation mandating the installation of generators in residential buildings exceeding 75 feet in height. This regulation is designed to ensure the continuous operation of elevators and the provision of a 5-day on-site power supply. The rule applies retroactively, encompassing both existing and newly constructed buildings. This regulation impacts all residential buildings within Florida that meet the specified height criterion, irrespective of their construction date. The deadline for the installation and operational readiness of these generators is set for the conclusion of 2008. The primary objective of this regulation is to enhance the preparedness of high-rise buildings for potential power supply disruptions stemming from emergencies such as hurricanes or other natural disasters. Elevators and other critical emergency systems rely on a consistent electricity supply to function effectively, and the regulation aims to prevent residents from becoming stranded or trapped within their buildings during power outages. Building owners and managers bear the responsibility for ensuring adherence to this regulation. Non-compliance, specifically the failure to install generators by the end of 2008, may lead to penalties or enforcement actions. Additional considerations include the fact that the generators must adhere to specific safety and performance standards. Building owners should anticipate additional costs associated with maintenance, fuel, and backup power systems. Furthermore, the regulation may have ramifications for insurance coverage and tenant safety. This regulation represents a substantial advancement in enhancing the preparedness and safety of high-rise buildings in Florida. By mandating generators and ensuring a 5-day on-site power supply, the state intends to mitigate risks and safeguard the well-being of residents during emergency situations. The specifications for these generators are crucial, involving factors such as power output, fuel type, and compliance with relevant electrical codes. Firstly, the power output of the generator must be sufficient to handle the load of the elevators and other essential systems. Secondly, the choice of fuel type must consider factors such as availability, cost, and environmental impact. Thirdly, compliance with electrical codes is essential to ensure safe and reliable operation. The installation of these generators requires careful planning and execution. Firstly, a qualified electrical contractor must be hired to perform the installation. Secondly, the installation must comply with all applicable building codes and regulations. Thirdly, the generator must be properly maintained to ensure reliable operation. Building owners and managers should develop a comprehensive emergency preparedness plan that includes procedures for responding to power outages. Firstly, the plan should identify essential systems that must be powered by the generator. Secondly, the plan should outline procedures for communicating with residents during a power outage. Thirdly, the plan should include procedures for evacuating the building if necessary. The economic impact of this regulation on building owners and managers should also be taken into account. Firstly, the cost of purchasing and installing generators can be significant. Secondly, the ongoing costs of maintenance, fuel, and backup power systems must be considered. Thirdly, building owners and managers may need to raise rents or fees to cover these costs. However, there are also potential benefits to this regulation. Firstly, it can enhance the safety and security of high-rise buildings. Secondly, it can reduce the risk of liability for building owners and managers. Thirdly, it can increase the value of high-rise properties. The implementation of this regulation may present some challenges. Firstly, there may be a shortage of qualified electrical contractors to perform the installations. Secondly, there may be difficulties in obtaining the necessary permits and approvals. Thirdly, there may be resistance from building owners and managers who are unwilling to comply with the regulation. Despite these challenges, the implementation of this regulation is essential to ensure the safety and security of high-rise buildings in Florida. Firstly, it can protect residents from the dangers of being stranded or trapped in their buildings during a power outage. Secondly, it can minimize the disruption to essential services such as elevators and emergency systems. Thirdly, it can enhance the overall resilience of the community to natural disasters and other emergencies. Building owners and managers should take proactive steps to comply with this regulation. Firstly, they should consult with qualified electrical contractors to assess their needs and develop a plan for installing generators. Secondly, they should obtain the necessary permits and approvals as soon as possible. Thirdly, they should communicate with the residents about the regulation and its potential impact. This regulation is a significant step towards enhancing the preparedness and safety of high-rise buildings in Florida. By requiring generators and ensuring a 5-day on-site power supply, the state aims to mitigate risks and protect the well-being of residents during emergencies. There are several crucial aspects to consider regarding this new rule. Firstly, understanding the specific technical requirements for the generators is essential. This includes the required kilowatt rating to adequately power the elevators and other essential building systems during an outage. Secondly, building owners need to be aware of the approved types of generators that meet Florida's environmental regulations and noise ordinances. Thirdly, the location of the generator installation within the building must comply with fire safety codes and ventilation requirements. The 5-day on-site power supply requirement also has its own set of considerations. Firstly, the fuel storage for the generator must be sufficient to operate it at full load for 5 days. Secondly, the fuel storage system must comply with environmental regulations to prevent leaks or spills. Thirdly, building owners need to have a plan for replenishing the fuel supply after an emergency. The rule also impacts existing buildings in terms of retrofitting. Firstly, older buildings may require significant electrical upgrades to accommodate the new generator system. Secondly, the installation process may be disruptive to residents and require careful coordination. Thirdly, building owners need to factor in the cost of these upgrades when budgeting for compliance. Furthermore, the new rule has implications for building management and maintenance. Firstly, generators require regular maintenance and testing to ensure they are in optimal working condition. Secondly, building staff need to be trained on how to operate and maintain the generator system. Thirdly, building owners need to have a plan for dealing with generator failures during an emergency. The Florida government's rationale behind implementing this rule is based on lessons learned from past hurricanes and other disasters. Firstly, these events have highlighted the vulnerability of high-rise buildings to power outages. Secondly, the rule aims to prevent people from being trapped in elevators or unable to access essential services during an emergency. Thirdly, the rule is intended to improve the overall resilience of Florida communities to natural disasters. The potential penalties for non-compliance with this rule are significant. Firstly, building owners may face fines and legal action. Secondly, it may be held liable for any injuries or damages that occur as a result of a power outage. Thirdly, non-compliance could impact the building's insurance coverage. This rule also raises questions about the role of insurance companies. Firstly, insurance companies may require building owners to comply with this rule as a condition of coverage. Secondly, insurance premiums may increase for buildings that do not comply. Thirdly, insurance policies may not cover damages that result from power outages if the building is not in compliance. The long-term effects of this rule on the Florida real estate market are yet to be seen. Firstly, it could increase the cost of owning and operating high-rise buildings. Secondly, it could make high-rise buildings more attractive to potential buyers and renters who value safety and security. Thirdly, it could lead to the development of new technologies and solutions for emergency power generation. The technical specifications for the generators mandated by this rule are quite detailed. Firstly, the generators must be capable of automatically starting and transferring power within a specified timeframe, typically within seconds of a power outage. Secondly, the generators must be equipped with automatic voltage regulation to maintain a stable power supply. Thirdly, they must have sufficient overload capacity to handle temporary surges in power demand. The rule also specifies the types of fuel that can be used to power the generators. Firstly, diesel fuel is the most common choice due to its availability and energy density. Secondly, natural gas may be used if it is readily available and meets certain environmental requirements. Thirdly, propane can also be used, but it requires larger storage tanks. The installation of the generators must comply with the National Electrical Code 700, which covers emergency systems. Firstly, the wiring and overcurrent protection devices must be sized appropriately for the generator's output. Secondly, the generator must be grounded according to 250 to ensure safety. Thirdly, the generator must be installed in a well-ventilated area to prevent overheating. The emergency power systems in high-rise buildings often include other components besides the generator. Firstly, automatic transfer switches are used to seamlessly switch between the utility power and the generator power. Secondly, uninterruptible power supplies provide backup power for critical equipment such as fire alarm systems and communication systems. Thirdly, emergency lighting systems provide illumination in stairwells and other areas during a power outage. The maintenance requirements for the generators are essential for ensuring their reliability. Firstly, the generator should be inspected and tested regularly, typically on a monthly or quarterly basis. Secondly, the oil and filters should be changed according to the manufacturer's recommendations. Thirdly, the fuel should be tested for contamination and replaced if necessary. Building owners should also consider the environmental impact of the generators. Firstly, diesel generators can emit air pollutants such as particulate matter and nitrogen oxides. Secondly, noise pollution can be a concern, especially in residential areas. Thirdly, building owners should explore options for reducing the environmental impact of their generators, such as using cleaner fuels or installing noise reduction equipment. The new rule is likely to spark innovation in the field of emergency power generation. Firstly, companies are developing more efficient and environmentally friendly generators. Secondly, researchers are exploring alternative energy sources such as solar and wind power for emergency backup. Thirdly, smart grid technologies are being developed to improve the reliability and resilience of the power grid. The implementation of this rule will require close collaboration between building owners, electrical contractors, and government agencies. Firstly, building owners need to work with qualified electrical contractors to develop a compliance plan. Secondly, electrical contractors need to obtain the necessary permits and approvals from government agencies. Thirdly, government agencies need to provide guidance and support to building owners and electrical contractors. The new rule is a significant investment in the safety and security of Florida's high-rise buildings. Firstly, it will protect residents from the dangers of power outages. Secondly, it will improve the resilience of Florida communities to natural disasters. Thirdly, it will enhance the overall quality of life in Florida. Building owners and managers need to take this rule seriously and take the necessary steps to comply. The rule is intended to enhance the safety and well-being of residents in high-rise buildings during emergencies.